Jacob, thank you so much for having me.
I love having you, my friend. So, everyone listening out there, Michael is the co-founder of an amazing brand called Deko Cocktails. They're premium brand. They offer an RTD bottled cocktails crafted with real quality spirits, natural ingredients. They have a bee's knees. It's wonderful. They have a gold rush. Yeah, Mike, pour it up, man. Which is a bourbon cocktail with honey and lemon, and they have a cocktail called a Firefly, a vodka cocktail infused with cucumber, elderflower, lime, and habanero. We're going to get into all that. As you can see, actually, what's great, we're doing video here for the first time on the Three Tier podcast. So you can see not only my lovely guest, but you can also see the bottle itself. Mike, let's just jump right into it from the get go. So, what inspired, take us from the beginning. What inspired the creation of Deco?
So, what the creation of Deco has stemmed over the last 10 years from one of our co-founders. He's he's a person that loves everything about a cocktail. He loves the way it makes you feel, the way it makes the people around you feel, the environment of a cocktail bar,
Hmm.
the ambiance, the setting, the mood. It's not just about what it tastes like, but what it really does for you and transformative. And he wanted to figure out how to do that at home.
Right.
Ushi's an amazing host. He loves having people over, but when it comes to making a drink, he struggles to make a vodka soda. So he was
Was
walking
this
this.
post? Stop you real quick. Was this post COVID?
This is pre-COVID.
Okay, so this is pre-COVID. Okay,
This is
that's interesting.
pre-COVID.
Okay,
Yeah, and he was walking the halls or the lines at his local stores to serve something to his guests, and he found himself in the ready to drink category. And the first things that he saw were flavor malt beverages. So your Trulies,
oh,
White Claws, and so just he didn't like the way it felt, the way it looks. Then finally he got to spirit based. And the only thing that was out there was your high noons, nothing wrong with them, but it was
it's different.
something soda,
Right,
something
seltzer,
seltzer,
yeah.
and everything was in a can. Nothing felt luxurious, and it wasn't something he felt comfortable serving to his guests. So he was always hiring a bartender because at the end of
Guests
the
at a party,
aisle,
you mean? Like, he would have his own personal parties and
personal parties, 15 people, he was still hiring a bartender.
got it. Okay, so he said, "Let me maybe I can do better." And
Maybe I could do better.
this
And
was over 5 years ago at least, right?
it was just about 5 years ago.
Wow, and Deco launched, I think, officially less than a year ago. Is that right?
Our hard launch was September 1st of 2024.
Okay, yeah, so it's recent. Okay, great,
It's recent.
and yeah, I see all over the internet. I see articles about it. I've had them. They're delicious. So, in developing the cocktails, there's so many different you talked about he serves cocktails, et cetera, but there's so many types, right? You have your margarita, your real classics, old fashions, et
Sure.
cetera. So, tell me a bit, like, where did you land on these 3 at least to start? And what was the development process like to really bring the real cocktail experience to the bottle?
Yeah, that's great. And the one thing that we wanted to make sure we weren't creating was a means to an end. When you open up a White Claw, no one has ever opened a White Claw or a Truly or a High Noon and said, wow, let me talk to you about the nuances of canned cocktail.
Right.
We wanted something that was elevated and a conversation starter, but something that was more nuanced than a margarita. So
So,
the
something that was maybe like would you say something that, like, a lot of people can drink, but not I don't wanna say normal, but, run a margarita is about as classic as you can get, old-fashioned about as
it's
classic. You
it's
wanted
as
something a little
classic.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you want to stand out in the sea. It truly is a sea out there
Right.
of ready to drink and even on base spirits. We wanted something that was unique, yet still familiar enough to the average consumer that they're not intimidated to pick it up. So that's how we landed with the Gold Rush and the Bee's Knees, two very classic cocktails that are
Mhm.
having a huge resurgence, by the way.
Totally,
We
yeah.
noted we've seen them on every cocktail menu across
Yeah,
the country. So it's not
yeah.
something that's new to the consumer, but it's not there on the shelf either.
So, yeah, you thread the needle between unique, but also palatable for it's not that niche, these tastes. So, when you're going through and you're developing, there's a lot of different ways to make these flavors. I know natural, real ingredients was an emphasis. What were some of the challenges? How do you get something that's affordable, but still tastes good and has these ingredients? I have to imagine there were challenges along the way. Can you describe some of them?
So one of the biggest challenges was how do you use all natural ingredients, all natural sweeteners, no artificial colors, and stay shelf stable for one, and not have separation. All of our cocktails have
Right.
real juices. One of the hardest parts of that was how do we get it from not being foggy? And one of the ways we did
Oh,
that,
like getting
we
cloudy in the bottle?
exactly getting cloudy in the bottle. We're already in a position where we're in this uphill battle of consumer education. And then having it cloudy is just one more step. So we went back to the drawing boards and we went to our food scientist and our flavor lab and said, can you make clarified lemon juice?
Because that's not cloudy.
That's not cloudy. And from batch to batch on lemons, when you clarify it, it becomes more consistent on flavor.
Got
So
it.
that was a
That had to
huge
take yeah,
hurdle.
that's probably like a year, I would imagine, of development.
We spent, yeah, you're really close, almost on the dot. We spent about a year on development.
And
And
then does that include also the bottle and everything? Or even just the flavors?
so everything was working in parallel.
Yeah.
Whatever when we talk to people and we say we brought this to market in just about 2 years, they're like, how did you have 100 people working on this
Yeah,
project?
it's not bad. If you listen to the show, you'll see the common theme on essentially every episode is this stuff takes time. When I
It
talk to
takes time.
entrepreneurs like Mike, and it just it's not something that is done even in 6 months. Like you said, you're talking about 2 years here, and people are like, "Wow, you must have had 100 people working on it." Everyone meets you when you're in market right now. They're like, "Oh, that's" but it's the behind the scenes and the grunt work that really interests me in terms of entrepreneurship, especially we were coming out of COVID, RTDs are flooding the market. What kind of pushed you in your team to say, "Hey, there's room for this," from the way it's packaged to the taste and everything else. Oh, another RTD. What pushed you that you think you could do different and better?
What we've noticed from a generational buying habit is our generation, the older millennial, and even part of the Gen Z movement is people are not price sensitive. They'd rather spend more
For
and
quality.
drink less
Mm,
versus pounding back natty lights like we did in college. So for us, we realized
those are
that
the days.
those were the days.
I
We
don't even know if I
realized
can
that
drink one anymore.
you don't think
Sorry.
so? I think I could,
I could yeah,
you
oh, I
know.
couldn't. Okay, so keep going, sorry.
So we realized that the consumer wasn't price sensitive. We knew they were reaching for other brands that were bottled because it was a necessity. It was the only thing on the market. And package sells, right? So we decided first and foremost, we're going to be an impulse purchase.
Huh,
And then with the package, we're impulse purchase. And then the juice that's inside the bottle converts them from an impulse purchase
then
to
they
an
come back.
intentional customer. They
Right.
come back for it. So the first thing we did before we even started formulating is we said we have to work with a creative agency that gets it. They get our idea and they can bring it to life. And
I
we talked to a bunch of amazing ones. And we ended up landing on Stranger and Stranger, the most accoladed branding
I know
agency
eh,
out there.
they nailed it.
And yeah, Joy Hallman and her team, they got the assignment and they nailed it. You know,
Could you put the
from
bottle
this.
up?
Yeah. So what's really fun is everything we did, we wanted it to live on pack and live off pack. And the way I say that
Okay,
is
explain that,
as
yeah.
so everything on our master shipper is really fun. It's a lot of fun, unique patterns. But what you don't see on the bottle is those patterns until you turn the bottle around and start drinking down the liquid. It starts showing all
Oh.
the fun, unique artwork.
Oh, that
So
is
here's the Firefly. And as you turn it
turn it around.
around,
Oh,
you
okay,
start
cool.
the
So for
artworks,
for those listening and not watching, basically the back of the label is
the
playful. You can we'll have to put in the show notes something, but it is actually really cool. It almost reveals the funner side, I guess.
the funner side.
That's
A-
cool.
And it's a staple, right? As you can see, it's on my bar here. And we wanted to live on people's bars. We want it to be a talking piece.
This is a retail thing more so than
We're,
on premise, right?
we're 100% retail. The only quote on premise that we have seen success with and that we're pursuing is travel retail. And when I say travel retail, in room dining,
Yeah.
mini bars, and grab and
Yeah.
goes.
Hotels,
Uh,
I could see that. If this
you
was a
know,
minibar,
tell me if you've ever been in this situation. You're at a wedding.
you already know I
You're
have.
in a you're in a city that you've never been to. Or maybe you have, and you get back from the wedding and you're pretty drunk and get a Heineken in the mini bar and you're like, it's $12, whatever. And you
I'd
open
do
it
it
up,
if it was 20.
you did it was 20 and you open it up and you have 2 sips and then you pass it. But when you're on
Know me
vacation,
too well.
money doesn't matter. It's not real until you check out.
What's cool too is y'all entered into the market in a pretty DTC friendly environment. You talk about on your website and whatnot. You launched in 40 states. I'm assuming that means via most of that via online. So
That's
how
correct.
yeah, so how critical is the online direct consumer part of the strategy? And even today, what are you seeing with that versus, actual in-store physical store?
If we launched in 40 states overnight, we would be closed tomorrow. I
But
think
yeah,
I think you guys have talked about this a lot. One of the worst things that a brand can do is expand too quickly. Um,
absolutely.
but what we can't afford to do is not have brand awareness. And with the new loopholes or partnerships with third-party companies that can back into our Shopify, we have the ability to get the cocktails in people's hands in 40 states that we wouldn't necessarily have before. And for us, what makes it really valuable is that we get that, but it also gives us insights into what markets really want Deco cocktails.
Right.
And it gives us insight of what market should we open up next. So we're not just throwing a dart at a map and saying, we're opening up Chicago or we're opening up Washington State. We can really aggregate that data and
Right.
say, okay, we are having on average 55 orders from the greater Seattle area.
Uh-huh. And then what do you do with that?
So then we can take that and over a 3-month, 6-month time, really look at who that demographic is, and then take that to a distributor and say, is this something that you're interested in? Or take that to a retailer and say, we're getting a lot of influx of business in your area. Whole Foods, for example.
Well, yeah, you
We aggregate that data. And these are the things that we didn't have access to 5 years ago.
yeah, it's amazing. You would know that in a liquor store, okay, 10 cases were depleted or 2 cases, but you had no idea who bought them. And
No,
that it's gotta be one of the only industries really in the world where that was the case. You're like, "We know we're selling a lot. We don't know if it's 18 not 18, 21-year-olds or 61-year-olds or women, men, black, white, Asian, whatever." And now you're able to do that and really leverage that. So far since the launch in September, you know, what or have there been any surprises around the response or who's buying, who's not buying versus what you thought, or is it what you thought?
it's a little bit what we thought, but there are definitely some curveballs. We thought we'd be a mid to late 20s on the younger side to about 38. But we're seeing a lot of orders that are 48 and older coming through.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
and we're and we're
And how do
getting
you
that
sell it though?
data.
Because you don't just sell 1 bottle at a time online. Is it a case?
No, so you have the options are endless. You could order a variety pack, one of each.
Okay.
You could order 2 variety packs, so 2 bottles of each. You could order 3 Fireflies, 2 Gold Rush, and a Bee's Knees to make 1 full case. Or, let's say it's a special occasion, you can go on and buy one of our gift boxes, which comes with 1 bottle of each, dried,
In a cool package?
uh oh, beautiful package. Beautiful
Yeah.
package.
Do you have it or no?
Dried tr I do have it.
Can you show?
I can show, it's gonna take me a second, but I can show.
Okay. Okay.
I can show.
Um, okay, maybe yeah.
But yeah, you can buy it in any
Um,
in any way. We really encourage people not to buy 1 bottle. The
well,
variety
yeah,
pack is
once you get
the
there, you
variety
might
once you get there, the variety pack
yeah.
is our bread and butter because we tell people, "Hey, listen, buy 1 of each, try them out, see what you like. Inevitably, there's gonna be a favorite." The one thing that we did think that has really turned us upside down, we thought the Firefly was gonna be the best seller. It
Really?
is a it's a vodka-based cocktail. This one, I'm like,
I
I don't
would
wanna
think
break
Bee's Knees would be the best seller.
it truly is. I don't wanna
Yeah.
break my arm patting myself on the back, but the Firefly is the most intense to make. We make our own cucumber vodka.
Right.
We take 235 gallons of proof vodka. We hand shred and macerate 400 pounds of cucumber in for 48 hours and then
Oh,
fine filter it. It's a labor of love, but
well, it could be
it's
a
all
learning
that.
curve too. Do you get feedback from first of all, tell the audience real quick, what's the ABV and the price point generally?
So the price point is the same on all of them. It's 24.99. The Firefly is our highest proof at 21% for one bottle,
That's
and
24
each
okay.
bottle's but the great thing is it's four cocktails per bottle.
Yeah, it's a half of a fifth. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a solid amount.
it's a solid amount, and the bee's knees is 17%, and the Gold Rush is 20. The
Right.
Gold Rush is made with a minimum of 2-year-old bourbon, clarified lemon juice, and honey.
Yeah, so if you actually drink a whole bottle, that's 4 cocktails. You're
That's
feeling
full.
good.
It's a good day, quite possibly a good afternoon, depending on what you're doing.
Day, afternoon, into night, maybe into the early hours of the morning.
Maybe early after, which I've done with you before.
Yes, yes, we have. We've had many 2 sips of Heinekens before passing out on the floor of a hotel room. That's just speaking for me, I'm not gonna speak for Michael there. Okay, so you're rolling out, it seems like things are going really well. Do you see in terms of distribution, I know distributors just from being in the industry, they're sick of RTDs, and this is different. This is and you have to fight for this physical shelf space, and how in your mind, just as a vision, it's a year from now, what physical areas, states are you in versus this direct to consumer? Can you envision a world if it was up to you where 90% of your sales are coming online? Or is that not really what you're going for? Is it 50-50? How are those two going to mix as you decide to grow and scale?
So I'll use the metric, and that's as old as time, 80/20. Before, you want 80% retail, 20% off premise. And currently we're 80%
Wait,
direct to
80%
consumer,
retail, 20% off premise. You mean,
80% retail, 20% on premise. It's
okay, on
typically
premise. Yeah.
how you
Right,
would
right,
do a
right,
brand.
right.
And for us right now, we're 80% direct to consumer, 20% retail. And within the next 18 months, the pendulum should swap
But
to
why?
um the brand awareness
No, but why
is
do you want it to
has
switch? Just to push you on it just a bit. Like, why
yeah.
wouldn't it be great if just playing devil's advocate, would it be great if just you're like, "Phew, we don't even have to go to new states because you know how hard it is? Or is it
Oh
just
man.
unrealistic to think that you're gonna get that flow?
So I would love to believe in a pipe dream that we could do that. I hope in a pipe dream that everybody could do that.
Yeah,
But consumers, for some reason, they'll buy bell peppers and chicken and have it delivered to their door, but they love walking the aisles
they
at
do.
liquor stores.
I
They
mean, I
love it.
do. Even today, I'm
I
like,
do too.
What's out there?" You
Yeah.
know?
People want to hold and touch and feel what a bottle looks like.
And see it. Yeah, I actually agree with you. And because it's not a commodity, right? It's not going to Amazon and buying, like, some diapers or something. Sorry, I'm thinking diapers. I have a little kid here sitting. Y'all can't see, but I got a little baby. Might have to show you, but right here. So I'm thinking diapers. You go buy diapers or diapers, but when it comes to something like a brand, the way it looks, you're right, and the way it feels and the attractiveness, it does have to start with that on shelf. I think one of the best things about Deco, besides the name, by the way, which is great. I don't know where you came up with that, but it's short, it's sweet, it just sounds luxe. But I love the format in the 375 bottle. I think it's really reflective of a more nuanced, higher end offering. So, how was there any time when you were thinking about can, or this was always
So Cam was never on the table. It never was on the table. It never will be on the table. For us, we see ourselves as obtainable luxury. It's something that the average consumer can purchase on a weekly basis, a monthly
it's not
basis.
out of reach?
It's out of reach. It's beautiful to the point where you feel comfortable gifting it and bringing it to someone's home. And that's not what
Absolutely.
can.
Bringing
That's
cans,
how it can.
yeah. I always
It's
say it's imagine the most luxurious can. It still looks terrible
it's
in
still a
terms of
can.
luxury. Yeah, still can't.
You bring cans to tailgates. You bring Deco cocktails to a dinner party.
Okay, so let's switch gears here. Let's talk about macro a macro trend. For the last you and I have been in this business pretty much our entire career, so let's call it 15 years, not to age ourselves. Every year, every 2 years, you see these articles, "Oh, booze is getting beat, getting killed." Whether I know beer and wine, they've been through a particularly tough time recently. But from a macro level, are you seeing anything to support that? I'm not really from my end in my niche, but do you find yourself what are your thoughts on that?
But typically for my category, we're us and tequila, so your business, we're there you go, shake that. We're the only 2 categories that are not just stable.
Yeah, tequila and
We're grow
RTDs.
we're growing at a double digit
Yeah,
growth year over year.
because maybe you're right.
If
Maybe people are if they're drinking less, they wanna drink better.
if unfortunately, I'm a wine drinker. I'm a fine wine drinker. Fine wine is down double digits
Shoot,
year over year.
yeah.
So when you look at people say alcohol business is down, sure, if you include
Beer,
everything and beer's down, but Modelo's through the roof.
right. In cocktails and spirits specifically, you're right. Tequila, cocktails, RTDs are up. They've been a really bright point. What's interesting, so COVID happens, and all of a sudden, this new category almost explodes. But it seems like even post-COVID, it's here to stay. I think that's because of brands like Deco, where it's like, you don't really have to sacrifice the quality. I think if it was all crap, it wouldn't be the same, but entrepreneurs like yourself have really put it my baby. He's
Yeah, I can hear the baby.
yeah.
So think about that scenario. Before COVID, we quantified on premise and off premise. Now we have this whole new category that at least that, I'm calling it is home premise. We
Ooh, I never
when
heard that.
when we were looking at the off premise sales, all we cared about is how many cases are we selling.
Mhm.
Then during COVID, we said, what are they doing with these bottles? They were getting creative, making cocktails, figuring things out, reading books, going on YouTube. They were getting in competitions with their friends on Instagram and TikTok of what they could make. But now that COVID's over and they don't have all this extra time on their hands, they still are entertaining more at home than they are going out. And me personally, you can't see it in this video, but I have hundreds of bottles.
Hmm.
My partner and I, we host all the time. And the last thing I want to do is stir, shake, or mix drinks in my kitchen when I have
Yeah,
people over.
right.
I had them over to enjoy time with them, not make drinks. So
Well,
to have that
particularly when you
opportunity,
can get a good one.
they would have a good one. And
Yes.
I'm not one to I'm not one to drink beer, but I'm also not one to open a bottle of wine in the middle of the week because it'll go bad by the time it's the weekend. But sometimes I do want a little Wednesday,
A little hump
a
day,
little hump day,
relaxer.
yeah, a little relaxer. And what's great about Deco cocktails is you open it up, you have one or two, you put the cork in, and you leave it on your shelf. You don't have to put it in the refrigerator. You just come back to it when you're ready, and it's there
I
for
know.
you.
It
It's
y'all,
there.
you gotta
It
taste this
doesn't
stuff.
leave you. It
Yeah.
doesn't leave you.
So you can just go to Deco Cocktails, DEKO, right, to get it, but y'all gotta taste this
Exactly.
stuff. It's really good, and Michael and his team really captured the essence of being able to put a real cocktail in a format that allows people to drink it at home, which is really hard to do, and the fact that you've done it in just a year or 2 really is a testament to you. I know you've been working your butt off in the team. So, because you're willing to be my first video guinea pig, I'm gonna do a couple other things here. We're gonna get towards the end here with some a little more off the wall questions about the brand.
Sure.
I'm gonna try it out. Okay. So if Deco Cocktails were a spirit animal, what would it be and why?
Uh,
I didn't
if it was an actual animal,
if
so
it's
I'm
yeah,
gonna
what's
go.
Deco Cocktail spirit animal?
It's a penguin.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Wait, why?
and I bet you were like waiting for me just to think about it.
But you
I
knew.
like. I knew because a penguin's my spirit. They're fun. They're
Yeah.
loving. They're smiling.
Yeah.
They're always dressed for the
R
best
Oh,
occasion.
yeah, they're always in tuxedo.
They're always in tuxedos, but you see them sliding on their bellies, so you know that sure they're dressed up in a tuxedo, but they know how to loosen the tie and have fun. Maybe throw off their shoes and dance on the table a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love that. I did not see Penguin coming, but it does
And
fit it.
when it's super, super cold, they always join together. Maybe they're joining together for a drink.
I love it. I love it. Okay, that was a great first run, and like I said, I did not prep you for that. Okay, everyone can go get Deco at deco, DEKO cocktails.com. Michael Handman, I really appreciate you being on here. Yeah, for those who don't know me, Michael and I have known each other for the better part of 20 or 30 years. And just seeing your success personally as a business person, as a co founder, and of course, as a human has just been a great thing to see. And I love you. And thanks again for coming
Love you too.
on.
Jacob, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.